Hey guys, what is up? It's your pal Dave from Notes and Volts, and we're going to do something a little different today. I'm going to show you my synthesizer setup and explain how it all works. I think this will be super fun. So stay tuned. All right, so here is the setup. This is what I do my live shows with on Twitch and YouTube. And let me kind of show you how this all comes together. So I think the best place to start is right here. This is the Native Instruments Machine Mark III. And I have a machine software running on my Mac over in the corner there. This is a secondary monitor that lets me see what's going on while I'm playing. But basically the machine software is doing a few things. First, it's a mixer, so I can have multiple audio sources coming in from these external synths, and I can also have plugins. So each of these pads is a different instrument. So you can kind of hear them as I play. And when I touch a pad, it's not only going to select that instrument, it's going to route the MIDI to my main keyboard here. So this pad here is actually a plugin. This is the Prophet 5 plugin from Arturia. And when I hit this pad, it selects it and it puts the MIDI right here and I can play. So that's very useful. Now the output of this guy goes into here, and this is a very cool thing. This is called Endless Studio, and it's a program I use quite a bit, and what it basically is a live looping program. So if I play a sound, you can see it coming in as a waveform, and this will allow me to hit one of these loop buttons and take portions or all of that audio. Now there's a bunch of different ways I can control this program. My favorite way is this guy here. This is the Endless One controller that I made. I've got a video on it on my channel. But this is a one-to-one control surface for this. And you can see I even copied the colors to the controller. So it makes it a lot easier to figure out where I am. So on the side here I can select the different instruments. I've got the 8 tracks, so you can have 8 loops going with this software. So here's my volume mixer for the 8 tracks. This is for mute and unmute and track select. And here are my looper buttons for 1, 2, 4, or 8 bars. I can also control endless with this. So this is an Ableton Push 2, and if you have a Push 2, you have the option to have endless take it over and become a control surface. So you can see the tracks up here, and as you make new tracks, they'll appear one at a time, and you can mute them, unmute them, and you can also go backwards and forwards in time. So if you add a new thing, you don't like it, just go back a scene, and you're back to where you were. So you've seen one plug-in on this, so let's see some of the other instruments plugged in. So if I go to this pink one here, that is the Wasp Deluxe. And this is a really fun synth. It's from Behringer. Very gnarly sounding. So really fun, and it allows me to make some real chaotic noises. It's just a real fun synth to go to and twiddle some knobs and make something kind of gross. We also have the Behringer K2 and the Behringer Neutron. And so I guess this is my little wall of Behringers. Here is my, actually is turning out to be one of my favorite synths, the Mini Nova by Novation, and This synth, I didn't really like it at first, but it really grew on me, and it's just got some really great sounds. So I have 8 presets here that are some of my favorite sounds. I've got of course, the classic jump synth. I've got a Taurus kind of bass. Very cool. And I got a bunch of other things. Very fun synth, big filter knob. Sounds really good. I end up using this way more than I ever thought I would. Underneath this, we have the expensive one. This is the Roland Jupiter XM. And this thing, that's not a great demo sound, but it's got, you know, the Jupiter, it's got the SH101, it's got the Juno 106. So you can get a bunch of plugins, and it also has a bunch of realistic sounding pianos and organs and all that stuff. So this thing is kind of my Swiss Army synth. It gets me any sound I could possibly need. Now all those things, like I said, go into this as a mixer and then into Endless, so I can loop any one of those at any time. The output of Endless goes into this. So this is the Tractor S4, and it's a 4-channel mixer. So you can see Tractor kind of running in the background there. And basically anything coming from Endless goes into this channel here. And if I play a note, you'll kind of see that level happening. Now the output of this goes across the room into this very important piece of gear. This is the Art Audio Dual Limiter Classic PWM limiter, and it's basically a stereo limiter. And this is very useful because sometimes when you're getting into it, the levels are going to keep going up and up, and this will keep them from absolutely distorting your input to your stream or recording or whatever. So it kind of keeps the levels in check. Now the output of that goes into this channel here on my mixer, which then goes into OBS and out to the fine people on Twitch or YouTube, or I can actually just record live sets to my hard disk. Now as I'm playing, I have this little monitor here that lets me see what's happening on OBS. So if I'm on the wrong scene, and I can also see the levels for the audio there and make sure I'm not clipping or anything like that. So that's really useful, because otherwise I'd have to turn my head and keep looking back at that, which kind of takes you out of the moment a little bit. In the corner here is a very useful piece of gear. This is actually a kitchen timer, and I can actually time my shows. So if I'm doing like 2 hours, I can make sure that I don't go over. So that chain of stuff kind of is my Endless live looping channel. Now I've got a couple of other channels. So the second channel here is my Tractor channel. So I can pull up other tracks if I want to mix in parts of other tracks. Or what I usually do is I just have some samples, some one-shots.
Louder! Oh no, this is louder!
And I can have some one-shots on this Tractor F1 controller, and those are kind of fun just to put in during your set, make transitions and stuff like that. So that brings us to this top level here. Now this level is stuff I want to be able to reach very easily. Now this guy here, this is a project you may remember from one of my old videos. This is called the Fader 8, and it's basically a little 8-channel mixer controller that I made. And what I do with this, I have this set to the Native Instruments machine master effects. So on the master channel I have some delays and reverbs, and I can mix them in and out from here. So let's say I want to add a bunch of reverb to that sound. I can add delay and reverb. And it makes it real ethereal, very nice. This is some other settings for the delay and reverb times and all that stuff. Here's a real fun thing. This is a side chain amount. So if I put that up, it gives you that classic side chain sound. This is actually a plugin called the One Knob Pumper, from Waves plugins, and it gives you that sound. So you want to do some side chain effects, you just bring that one up there. Now this guy here is clock synced to both Tractor and Endless via Ableton Link, and that makes the timing very solid between all these three devices. But a lot of gear doesn't use Ableton Link, so I also have the MIDI clock coming out of this and going to my other synths as well. Channel 3 here is basically my Novation Circuit Tracks channel, and that's this guy here. And this is a little all-in-one box. It has some synth sounds, it has drum sounds, and it also takes in a couple of channels of audio. This thing has drums, so it puts the drums out into this channel here. But it also controls this guy. This is the Drum Brute Impact from Arturia, real fun drum machine. And it will sync, so if I start one, this will start as well because they're MIDI clocked together. So let me give you a little example. So if I push start, there you go, we got some drums, and right now it's just the kick drum. If I unmute this, and there you go, we got a drum pattern. It's even got this fun FM drum. Now I can have that, and I can also mix in drums from this guy. Give it a little variation and a little extra punch. Now here's a very cool thing. In the corner here, this is a little old Alesis drum machine. Alesis SR16. Now I don't really use the sounds from this a lot, but what I use it for is it has a really neat feature, which is an autofill feature. So you can attach a foot switch to it, and that foot switch is down there. And as I step on that foot switch, every 2 bars it will generate a fill. And that helps me do little fills on the fly, transitions. Let me do another one. All right, very handy. So yeah, it doesn't do a lot, but it does that, and that's a very cool feature. So that brings us to the second kind of audio chain, which is the Arturia key step. So this is a 4-channel sequencer. And basically on this channel here, I've got a Volca bass, which is a very nice sounding synth. I really like that one a lot. On channel 2 here, I've got a Roland TB3, which is basically a weird version of their classic 303 bass synth. On the 3rd channel here, I think I have the Neutron, even though it's not plugged in right now. And on the 4th channel, I have the Arturia Micro Freak, which is a really awesome little synth, super fun. Now the reason I have these on their own controller is because it's nice to be able to have some arpeggios or bass figures in the background that you can use as a foundation and create live loops over it. So it gives you way more options. And also that is the reason why I keep my drums separate and not live looped, because I can bring in and out drums, add percussion, break it down to a kick drum, whatever I want to do. Finally, on the bottom here, we have this guy. This is a Zoom V3, and this is a voice transformer, and it has a whole bunch of, it has vocoder, it has pitch correct, it has different vocal effects, delay, reverb, and all that stuff. And that basically feeds this mic here, and that's if I ever decide to sing, which is very rare because my voice is not great. I can do it there, but super fun. But also, this guy also feeds into the Mini Nova, which has a super fun vocoder. So I can sound like a robot if I want to. It's super fun. Now, not only do I like to play synths, I also like to play guitar. And here is the guitar corner over here. We have a small scale Stingray bass because I don't have a lot of space. Behind that we have the bootlegger Spade guitar, and we have a classic old Steinberger. It's the cheaper model, but it's still a Steinberger, and it's really fun. So you can see I like very small headless guitars because, once again, I don't have a lot of space in here. So all my guitars go through a little wireless system, and this is the part that plugs in your guitar. It's the Boss, I forget the model number on this, but it's the Boss wireless system. Really recommend it. It is super fun and super good sounding. And they wind up down here in this guitar processor. This is the Headrush pedal board, and I really like this one because you can set up individual buttons to control individual effects. So if you're a guitarist and you're used to pedal boards and effects pedals, it's basically set up the same way, so you can just kick effects on and off. Also, take note of this. This is another project that's on the Notes and Volts channel. It's the 4-button USB MIDI foot switch. And basically what that does is control endless loops. So that's my 1, 2, 4, and 8 button loops. So if I got my hands full and I can't reach my other controllers, I can still do the looping with that. So let's do a little sample maybe. So let's start here. I'll show you kind of the workflow. There we got the drums. I'm trying to do this one-handed, so it's a little tough. All right, I just did a loop with the pedal. Let's add a little TV3. Maybe a little wasp. Now, here's one last thing that's super important. This is a project I made. It's very unfinished, but I kind of like it that way. What this does is it goes into Tractor, and Tractor has some effects that you can mess the audio with, and this has a couple things. So if I move it this way, it's kind of a low pass filter, and if I move it the other way, it's kind of a high pass filter. And if I push it up, it's a kind of a stutter sample effect. And that's a super fun way to kind of add some spice to your playing as you're going, some live fills and what have you. So there you go. That's the way this all works. It's a work in progress. I'm always changing it and coming up with new things, but that's the way it sits right now. Maybe to go out, we will say a thank you to my patrons on Patreon, and I'll play some video clips of me actually using this stuff. And if you want to see me actually use this stuff for real, check out my new YouTube channel, Synthwave Dave, and it's all music, all synths, all the time. So thanks guys, let me know if you like this loose kind of vlogging style of video, and maybe we'll do some more. But I will see you next time.